to maybe avail themselves of the opportunity of using the AVR, that's the Assisted Voluntary Return.
Sir, your final words for Nigerians, please.
I think I will advise that they always come to the mission and check with the information being put out there. You know, some people put these things out for their own personal reasons. So we should always be able to ascertain with the High Commission what the exact position is before we now jump on what I call the head mentality. Because of people have demonstrated here, you want to join them too. Thank you.
An excerpt from the one-to-one interview with Mr. Sam Oga, who is, of course, the acting Nigeria High Commissioner here in the UK. Now, this was a follow-up of the telephone interview that I had with him on Wednesday evening. And as mentioned last week, Thursday, we did say that there was a team that was at the Nigeria High Commission live on Thursday morning, and that is an excerpt from that interview. Now, I have on a Skype call, as I mentioned before we went for the break, I have Mr. Chux Ukwuatu. Please correct me if that's incorrect. He is an education analyst, and he is the chairman of Education Correspondent of Nigeria. I have him on a Skype call. So good morning, sir. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm very fine.
Hello.
I think I listened to your program. I think very interesting.
Okay, so you were able to listen to what Mr. Oga was saying.
Yes, especially the last part. But initially it wasn't clear, but at least his last word, I was able to get it.
Okay, so can I ask you quickly, you know, as a concerned and a sure patriotic Nigerian, what are your thoughts on Nigerians being deported from the UK back to Nigeria? Because I know that there was a lot of controversy. They were saying that 29,000 Nigerians are going to be removed from the UK to Nigeria. And then there were false reports that said 500 Nigerians were on a plane, and it just turned out that it was 48. So, you know, do you feel that Nigerians should be removed from the UK, or should they be allowed to remain? What are your thoughts on that, what you were able to hear, sir?
If I might, like the little I heard, if I might want to like say something, I think I'll go by his last word, which he said that if you don't have any business going abroad or staying in the UK, I think it's better you stay in Nigeria. Okay. Rather than, you know, this kind of embarrassment that is ongoing and things like that, in order not to, you know, be embarrassed, in order not to, like, you know, be disgraced and stuff like that. Sit in your country. We know how things are over here, but I think together we can make it better. The future is very, very bright. I think it's good you have something decent, no matter how small, that you are doing here, and you really definitely you know, give you pat on the back that yes, you are doing one or two things, than rather you go to a country, you constitute nuisance and things like that in a country that is not your own country. You take all the insults and every other thing. So I think I'll go by his word that if you have no business traveling, if you have no business staying there, come back home and do something.
Okay. Well, now, you know, I think that that is a good place for us to start, because you are indeed, you know, an education analyst, as I mentioned before, but you are also the chairman of Education Correspondents of Nigeria. And, you know, I find it very, very interesting, and I'm very happy that you're with us this morning, because we have a number of questions, you know, for you. Now, obviously, with the inauguration of this new government that has now come into power, we can't help but speak with you about the issue of education. You know, as we know, and it's well documented, that there is unfortunately a huge issue in the education sector in Nigeria. What are your thoughts on the current state of affairs in this sector, and how can we, what steps can be taken to improve the state of education for youth in Nigeria, please, sir?
Well, like you just mentioned, the present government just inaugurated the Federal Executive Council. I think new Minister of Education has just been appointed, and in his first meeting with heads of parastatals on education, he said something. Though he is not an educationist, he said something: "I'm here to learn. I'm open to initiatives that definitely will add value to the process. Looking at the education landscape in Nigeria, definitely there are serious challenges. At the basic level, we have over 10 million children out of school, that are out of school. Even at the tertiary level, we have issues of infrastructural decay and stuff like that that are presently affecting even the ranking of Nigerians in the education sector. So definitely, if you are the kind of one appointed as a minister in charge of that sector, you know that definitely you have great job ahead of you. So if you look at the challenges, I think it's all about policy. Because he said something, we asked him one question. He said, it's not about policy, because if you go back to so many committees that have been set up to address, to look into one of maybe one, two, three of these challenges, they all have reports. So no need me coming on board, coming up with new policy or whatever, but we're going that they are going to like study some of these reports that have been on ground and see what value they can bring to the process. I think it starts from the basic level, which I think this government have actually started hitting the ground running. I think they are saying something about maybe introducing the 1 meal per child, school feeding meal for every pupil in primary school. I think if they can actually implement that, it will go a long way in encouraging parents to send their wards to school. Some might feel that maybe it's expensive. Some might feel that maybe they will be able to like pay for education and things like that. But when you come up with policies that the man knows that it's not adding anything, it's not spending any money, for his work to go to school. So I think definitely it's a good initiative that if this government can actually pursue, definitely it will add value to the process. And once you get it right at the basic level, definitely you take it from there to the tertiary, which I think the Tertiary Education Trust Fund in Nigeria are doing quite a lot. Addressing issues of infrastructural decay, providing research equipment, encouraging Nigerians to go for research, bringing out grants for people to like do research and things like that. So I think if we combine what is happening at the tertiary level to maybe the challenges at the basic, definitely we'll get it right.
Now, sir, you've mentioned, a very valid point that there are an overwhelming number of school-aged children who are currently not attending school due to various reasons. But, specifically, I would love to talk about, the number of female students that are not attending school. How do you feel this can be combated? Please, sir.
What I think it has online right now. I think the government is also addressing that. Nigeria is a kind of secular state, because if you go to like the eastern part of Nigeria, you will find out that we have a challenge there where the boy child don't go to school. The boy child at a very tender age begins to learn how to trade. Then when you go to maybe the northern part of the country, that is where you now see the females, maybe because of religious belief, on the first 1,000, right, it shows that telephone intervention is actually doing what is expected, adding value to what it's supposed to be, making education key again in the country.
Now, sir, you know, I can't help but wonder. I know it sounds like an amazing initiative that is, you know, essentially meant to tackle the issues that we're facing. However, what realistically is a time frame for, I'd say, maybe even a 50 to 60% improvement? Realistically, in your opinion, are we talking 5 years, 10 years, 20 years for a realistic, tangible change to the state of universities in Nigeria?
Well, if we are used to the Nigerian era, you know, in Nigeria, yeah, once you give time frame, you're in trouble.
That's true.
So nobody want to come and say between now, if you look at what's happening in the Boko Haram issue, where even the present government said by the end of this year, this December, that definitely there will be nothing called Boko Haram. But if you look at the opposition, have started using that to campaign against them, that already there's a countdown on the government that, look, it's getting to slow time. Boko Haram, they are still like doing one or two things. So I will, to be said to you, no government official will come out and tell you that to address the issues is still huge, despite the success story today. Despite the impact that's been made, I can still tell you that we still have a long way to go. You know, and like I said, like what this government said, what the minister said, that he's coming to the ministries to check the issues of corruption. I think if that challenge, the issue of corruption, is being tackled, whereby it goes down to even the university administrators, to ensure that whatever grant you get, no matter how small it is, if such grants are put into the process, if such grants are also invested in the system, definitely it will address these issues, will be addressed. But when we have a situation whereby, even when we have the challenge of grants, you know, we have the challenge of funding, and you now make little of this funding available, and this funding are diverted, they are not used for the purpose, definitely we cannot get anywhere. You understand? So I'm so happy with the commitment of the new administration that are fighting this issue of corruption. So with that, and with the kind of person that the minister is, a no-nonsense man when it comes to the issue of corruption and things like that, that will be able to check how these funds are used. I think if in the next 4 years, this government can do this, definitely we can be able to say this is the time frame. But for now, I don't think there's any realistic time frame that you can give that. This, and you also have to understand that when it comes to the issue of education, it is not just the business or the private of the federal government. The state government are also there. How committed are these state governors to issues of education? That is another thing, because while the federal government is doing all its best to take care of things at the federal level, do we still have such kind of commitment from the state governor? So I think those are also issues of concern that needs to also be addressed. You know, when we find out that you have a state governor that is not really committed and things like that, and these state governments have state universities, how do you compare the level of infrastructure in the federal and the state universities? How do you compare the kind of pay, salary take home that lecturers in the tertiary and the federal universities take home, and compare to that of the state? Definitely, it will continue to encourage this factor whereby state nobody wants to be this capital flight thing, that nobody wants to be at the state.
Questions that, of course, I'm sure that our viewers here within the diaspora would have concerning their loved ones and relatives back home in Nigeria. I mean, we spoke about school-age children who are currently out of school, and you know, the challenges that we're facing in the education sector. But we have a caller on the line. Good morning, caller. What's your name, please?
Yeah, good morning. My name is Dominic.
Hi, Dominic. How are you today?
Yeah, fine.
Excellent. What would you like to contribute off of the back of what Mr. Chux Ukwuatu has been talking to us about this morning? He's on the line directly with us, by the way.
First of all, I just want to comment choose Ukwuatu.
Yeah.
Reason being that there are some things he did mention, but there are some questions that I want to ask him, and he should pass that question directly to the head of state. One, we are talking of issue of corruption, and the head of state have already alluded that there's a lot of money that has been repatriated, which is under his coffers. Where is that money? How much is it? What is he using it for? That's question number one. We want all Nigeria to know, because he's running the way he's running that government. He's running it like his own personal property. All of us gather together and put him there. It doesn't matter whether you vote for him or not. You didn't vote for him. He should be able to be transparent by telling us how much he has recovered. Where is the money? That's question number one. Question number two. Before he came in, he said he's not going to create the office of First Lady. As I'm talking to you, we don't have money in the treasury. We have several aircraft that the wife is using, himself is equally using. He ought to have sold like 4 to bring back some money. That is what.
Okay, there. Thank you very much, Dominic, for those 2 questions. So, Mr. Chux, Ukwuatu, would you like to respond to our caller, Dominic?
Let me just respond, but where I am not a part of the government, I'm not a government person, that will not know where all the money, where they are. But like, I want to assure him that I think this government is really committed in addressing these issues of corruption. If you see the past agreement of the Tringles all tax and everything collected on behalf of the federal government will be deposited at the central bank. And I think this present government, when they came on board, they started implementing that. What are they trying to do? They are trying to check corruption, and it's what they also call zero budgeting, whereby if certain amount of money, if, for example, 1.2 billion naira is allocated to a particular sector, it is no longer business as usual. People just come up with fictitious amount of money. You say you want to use like 500,000 naira to buy chairs, whereby under normal circumstances you spend even not up to like 50,000 doing that. No question where do other want to go to? They go to a private pocket. So right now the government is trying to hold everybody accountable. And there's a high level of accountability whereby you account for everything that you money for. And secondly, like the issues we talked about, whereby you can no longer just come up with 1 or 2 files, with a list of items that even me and that, look, this amount, they are really exaggerated and things like that, So if we support these measures, I think if this issue, 50% of corruption is tackled, definitely will get it right. But the other issue of maybe First Lady, I don't think the President's wife has appeared in any forum on that title of First Lady, whatever, compared to what we've seen in the past. I think if we are having issues with that, I think now this government is trying to address that. The glamour and everything that goes with it. Office of the First Lady, you see the First Lady with friends at any one occasion or the other in all parts of the country, doing parties and things like that. I think those ones have stopped.
Of course.
Not saying that. So that is just what I can say as regards the issue of maybe First Lady. But the amount, others, I don't think the President has disclosed the amount of money that has been released or that has been returned back to the coffers of government.
Of course. Now, sir, just off of the back of what you're speaking about, you were talking about the, should I say, the mismanagement of money. But one story that I cannot help but ask you about is the widely publicized issue regarding the Bielsa State students who are on state scholarships that are in the UK, but yet their university fees have not been paid. And they are currently facing deportation as a result of that. Are you able to comment on that, please, for us, sir?
Okay, there's what we call Federal Scholarship Board. Yeah, where that entertain issues of scholarship, bilateral agreement with government when it comes to issues of scholarship. Yeah, but we also have such kind of arrangement in the state level. So, and you know one thing about government is this continuation, whereby you see an administration comes on board, they come out 1 or 2 policies, maybe scholarship policies, that will now see maybe many indigenes of the state go abroad to study. And the next thing, after 4 years, you see a new government come in and now say, no, they will not be able to fund such because it all amounts to wastage of fund.
Yeah, but so, sir, sorry to interject, but it hasn't been up to 4 years yet.
Okay, it's not up to 4 years.
No, it's not up to 4 years.
Like,
it's literally less than 4 years, and they're facing deportation.
Yes. In the next, if you may know,
it's only 1 year.
Days, yes, if you may know, in the next 2 days, we'll be having a governorship election in Bayelsa State.
Okay.
Where the people will come out and either re-elect the present governor or bring in another person. So at this period of electionary campaign, I think most governments, when it comes to this period, they are unable to meet up with some of this kind of commitment because large amount of funds goes to elections and things like that. Of course, election is a big business in Nigeria. Election is not what you just do with $100, $200. If you are talking about running for election, like billions of naira. So maybe the government for now, have not been able to meet up with this kind of commitment based on its concentration how to come back to office. So I think that might be maybe the challenge. If it's at the federal level, maybe that will have been a different ball game. But at states, I think maybe because of the elections taking place in the state, the campaigns that are ongoing, definitely funds will have been channeled to campaigns and the rest. Maybe that's what is affecting.
Of course, but sir, you've actually at the very top of this interview, you actually prefaced it by saying that there's a new Minister of Education that is now come in with this new government. What exactly is he doing, or what steps has he taken to sort out the issue of these stranded university students that are stranded in the UK and facing deportation after only 1 year of being in the UK, after being promised by their state government and being sent on state scholarships to the UK, and now they are essentially being deported and treated as if they've committed a crime when their only crime is wanting an education?
I think if you ask the federal government about what this, they will claim ignorance of this because it's purely a state issue, it's purely a state agenda. You understand? The Minister of State for Education takes care of basic education in Nigeria. They divided it into two. The main minister, the substantive minister, take in charge of tertiary education, while the Minister of State take care of basic education at the federal level. Like I said earlier, most of these states campaign with these states. Most of these state governors, when they are during the campaigning, the electoral process, they campaign with these states. They say, if you vote for me, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So at the end of the day, maybe they are now finding it difficult to meet up with such things. And maybe with the oil drop, the drop in oil and things like that, also affected, I think, revenue generation in Nigeria. I think maybe these are the issues that actually affected that, but it's purely a state affair.
Okay, well, we have a caller on the line who would like to address another question to you. Good morning, Tayo. How are you today? Hello, Tayo. Hi, good morning. What would you like to contribute to this discussion that we're having with Mr. Chux Ukwuatu, who is the education analyst and chairman of Education Correspondents of Nigeria?
Yeah, but this is the problem we have in Nigeria. They usually don't do anything from the bottom. They usually start from the top, running down. And when you start from the top, running down, you're always going to find things like this going on. They send those kids, those young people down here, and they know they can afford it. There's no way they can afford it. And even the younger ones that are in school are not being fed for. Like when I mean fed for, some of them are not in school. Why are you spending that kind of amount on one person to come to abroad to school? What benefit does that even do to your own state? Do you see what I'm saying? What benefit does that add to your state?
So is that the question that you're addressing to Mr. Chux?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Ukwuatu, would you like to respond to Tayo's question?
It It wasn't clear. Maybe if you can tell me the question.
Yes, she's basically saying that that it seems as if, realistically speaking, that Bayelsa State knew that they were not going to be able to financially, sustain the upkeep of the scholarship for these undergraduates, and she's questioning the reason why it was done in the first place.
Yes, like if you observe, like I said something. When these projects were initiated, nobody foresaw what would happen. Drop in crude oil and things like that. Actually, it has affected the economy of the nation. You no longer get money to throw around and things like that. And in the monthly federal allocations meeting where money is being shared among the tiers of government, you see that they've been a downward trend to what most states get right now. If you observe, in some almost 19, 20 states are finding it difficult. States in Nigeria are finding it difficult to pay worker salary. That is happening in Nigeria right now. Most states, there are some states going 7 months salary, there are some states going 6 months salary, 5 months salary, and things like that. And these are workers that have worked for you, that deserve their pay. So if a state government right now is unable to meet up with such kind of commitment, I wonder where such state government will also have the resources to now take care of those that they have sent outside. So like I said, actually, when these projects, most of them use these things for political gains, if you vote for me, I do this and do that, But with what is happening right now, the funds are no longer there. The funds are no longer there. And secondly, maybe the state government will have even reacted to this particular issue. But the man is doing all within his power to come back at the state government. Right now, we're having elections in the state. Nothing is happening right now when it comes to this particular period. All what is how the people can vote him back to continue in the next 4 years. So I think maybe after the elections, definitely the state government might take up on that particular issue.
But sir, after the elections, I know it might sound as if it is a situation that is being pacified, but you have to, if we put ourselves in their situation, you've come from Bayelsa State, from Nigeria, where your home, you have your family, your loved ones, and you've been promised by the Bayelsa State, you've been given a scholarship to come to the United Kingdom. You're a foreigner in a foreign land. You are not familiar with the UK or anything like that. You are simply coming to get an education that you were promised and that you were given a scholarship for, and you were told that Bayelsa State would be absorbing the costs because you are an exceptional student. Okay, fast forward 1 year into it, and now you're being threatened with deportation. You don't know how you're going to feed. You don't know where you're going to end up. You again, because you're not a UK citizen, you don't necessarily know your rights or anything like that. What is being done to protect the interests of those citizens of that state in a foreign country? Are they going, because essentially, if Bayelsa State doesn't pay their school fees, which, you're saying that we have to wait until the next election, which is coming up, they're going to be deported.
Yes.
Or they're going to be held in a deportation center, which is probably even worse, because that is very highly publicized in the UK, where they said that, unfortunately, they've done a lot of investigation, and they said that it's not a very nice place. Not especially for young undergraduates that are 21, 20, if that.
Okay, like I said earlier, you understand? Definitely, I don't have any information, as regard that. I'm not from Bayelsa State, and I don't think maybe the government, will not want to do something about this. If actually that is the case, I think maybe the government will be doing 1 or 2 things to see how they can actually, address that. Because it will be a thing of shame, for it to look as if you send somebody abroad to study and the person has. I don't even think they will deport them. I think the government will definitely do something about that. But you see, at the federal level, there was this commitment that the Nigerian government gave militants, these ex-militants in the Niger Delta, where they now said that most of them were placed on scholarship to study abroad, the past administration under Goodluck Jonathan actually took that up upon itself and ensured that they pay their bills. But when this new government came on board, we also had such issues that they are threatening most of them. They want to throw them out because they did not pay their school fees and things like that. And I think when the issue was brought before the President Buhari, he was just sworn in when the issue was brought before him. I think government quickly put together funds and addressed that. I can say that nobody has been deported. None of these ex-ministers have been stolen. They've all continued their program in various universities across the world. So I think that no serious government, no good government, even if you want somebody to vote you back, to be governor of the state in the next 4 years, these are things that you should do. So I want to believe that the government is working on this. I want to believe that despite the electionary campaign going on, that the government is taking it upon itself to actually see that these students don't get deported. So I am very, very optimistic that the government of Bayelsa State is doing something about this.
Well, I hope that we're able to echo your optimism. We will definitely be following this story up because, as I've mentioned before, this is a forum where concerned citizens and very patriotic Nigerians, interact with us on a weekly basis, and this is something that will definitely be at the top of their priority list, especially because they are Nigerian undergraduates stuck in a foreign land, But on just as we round up, please, sir, I do thank you very much for your time. But before you go, is there any message that you'd like to send to members of the public or fellow Nigerians in the diaspora?
What I will just say is that there is hope. You understand? Let's give this new government a chance. You understand? If you observe in Nigeria now, people are complaining because things are no longer done the way it used to be before.
To speak with us this morning. Okay.
Nobody's doing things the way they used to be before. So there is hope.
Okay.
All we just need is just that support, and definitely Nigeria will be a good place the way it used to be before. And they that also want to come back and join hands and make this nation great can also have a good nation whereby they can also come and contribute their quota to the socio-economic development of the nation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chux. I thought I lost you there, but I'm glad that we were able to finalize things and say goodbye. Thank you so much, sir. And Mr. Chux is an education analyst, rather, and he is also the chairman of Education Correspondent in Nigeria. Now, he was able to answer a number of questions put forward to him by a few of our callers, one named Tayo and the other named Dominic, who had, quite a number of things to put forward to Mr. Chux. So I hope that you enjoyed that interview with him. We're going to go for a quick break, but after the break, we will be opening the phone lines for you, our viewers at home, to continue this discussion and also to continue the topic of discussion that we've been talking about this morning, which of course is the UK bombing of Syria. So don't go anywhere. It is still the Ben Breakfast Show.
It is a celebration of those who are doing wonderful things on the African continent and fully focused as well on the Nigerian sporting industry.
diaspora have asked for this. We are delighted to have delivered, but yet there are work to be done.
Keywrite, specializing in all aspects of property lettings and management. If you have a property tenanted or empty, contact Keywrite on 0208 808 5789, where you'll be sure of expertise, competitive pricing and first-class service. Visit www.keywrite.co.uk. Telephone 0208 808 5789. Keywrite, the right key for your property investment.
Welcome back to the Ben Breakfast Show, and I'm Kalisha Johnson. And before the break, we were joined on the telephone via live Skype feed with Mr. Chux Ukwuatu, who is an education analyst, and he's also the chairman of Education Correspondent of Nigeria. Now, we had a number of phone calls that were related to the state of education in Nigeria, and the phone lines are still open for you, our viewers at home, to share your opinions off of the back of that live interview. If you were unable to get your views or to get calls through during that live feed, now is the opportunity to do so on the number that is below, which is 0208 808 0693. Now, Mr. Ukwuatu was kind enough to respond to questions that were put forward to him by both myself and also you, our viewers at home. But additionally, and specifically, you know, we really focused on the deplorable state of universities in Nigeria. And as I'm very much aware, and I'm sure that a number of Nigerians can attest to the fact that university lecture halls are, you know, in quite substandard conditions, and it's not really conducive to a positive work and learning environment. And he went on to say that the current government is doing all that they can to solve this issue. But specifically, we mentioned the Bayelsa State students who are still currently in the UK, and they are facing deportation as a result of their school fees not being paid. Now, our caller Tayo said that she felt that they should not have been sent to the UK in the first place because she undoubtedly believes that Bayelsa State is incapable of financially sustaining the education of those students, unfortunately, which, you know, it is quite a sad situation due to the fact that education is indeed a way out. It is a way out of poverty. It is a way for you to climb up social ladders. It is a way for you to get yourself out of a history or a cycle of a certain way of thinking. And for the simple fact that these young students, all they wanted to do is get an education, and they were told that they would be able to do so in the UK, and now they have found themselves in a situation that was not created by them. It is unfortunate. But Mr. Chux Ukwuatu, who joined us from Nigeria, said that he is optimistic that Bayelsa State is doing all that they can and will be doing all that they can to ensure that these students do not get deported. So we at Ben Television will most definitely, undoubtedly, be bringing you an update on the progress of these students, because it is our duty to bring that to you as we've brought it to Mr. Chux Ukwuatu. But we have a caller on the line. Good morning, Vincent. How are you today? Hello?
Except for the cold weather, I'm okay.
Hi, Vincent. What would you like to contribute to this morning's discussion?
Just to hop on take you up on the last statement.
Yes.
In Bayelsa.
Yes, sir.
No, he talked about the last speaker saying if they thought they could not cope with the program, better not send the boys over.
Yes, that's what Tayo said, our caller named Tayo.
Begin to wonder if Bayelsa State cannot pay which other state can pay in Nigeria? So Bayelsa is one of the rich states, Nigeria. And I listening to the program. What I tried to call during Ukwuatu was talking.
Yes.
Now, what they need to be doing in Nigeria is about time for them to change their mindset. Begin to think like Europeans or Igbo people. Show concern about your fellow human being. So when you are budgeted for something, money, don't go and tamper with the money. Leave it there. Use it for the purpose. That's where people like these guys in the UK will not be suffering. Are you hearing me?
Yes.
And when they leave their studies and going home, they will remember that Nigerians showed so concern about them, and the same thing they will pass on to their fellow human beings back home. Otherwise, we'll be just like that crab forced into a barrel. Everybody's struggling.
Yes.
You are not caring for anything.
Yeah. I understand that.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, yeah.
So that's very much I want to say. They should change their mindset to... All right.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, Vincent. Thank you so much for your contribution. Very valid points that, that people from Bayelsa State is a quite wealthy state, and Vincent is basically saying if they can't afford it, then who else can? But the issue, I guess, is at this present point in time, what is going to happen to the students of Bayelsa State, because they are in the UK. They are in a foreign country without any assistance at all. We don't know if they are able to eat, if they are able to afford food, if they're able to afford winter clothes at the moment, because as the weather is turning very, very cold, we have no idea about their current state or if they're able to even look after their own upkeep. But again, as I mentioned, we will definitely be bringing you a follow-up story on this because it has been raised with Mr. Ukwuatu. So it is our duty to make sure that this is followed up on. But, as we mentioned, and as he mentioned as well, a number of points that were raised were the challenges in the education sector. He also focused on the fact that, especially in northern states, young girls are not necessarily sent to schools for various reasons. And he mentioned the government's new initiative to provide primary school age children with 1 meal per day as an incentive to their parents to encourage them to be able to come to school for various reasons, either school fees being too high or parents not wanting their young female daughters to interact with male students. Those are some of the reasons why he mentioned that school-age children are not attending school. And last but not least, he also mentioned that the money that has been, diverted, he is definitely sure that the government will be able to get those funds. So we have one last caller on the line. Good morning, Jaja. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fine. Good morning.
Good morning. I almost said afternoon because I'm just thinking ahead.
Yes. Right.
Yes. What would you like to contribute to what we're discussing this morning?
I'm just following the discussion about Bayelsa students.
Yes.
That are stranded in London, probably because their scholarship funds have not been remitted or not been remitted.
Yes.
Well, I'm not surprised myself. This is not something new. It's been the part of Nigerian history that people are sent abroad, either as students or for whatever purpose on government sponsorship, both federal and state, and they are then abandoned. During the time of Obasanjo, if you recall, it was the same thing about federal students on federal scholarship. The funds were embezzled, and the Falamo Scholarship Board was burnt down. To start with, why will Nigerian students be sent abroad by state governments for political reasons to pursue undergraduate or postgraduate studies when the priority should be for them to get educated at home and then invest on employment and other infrastructure rather than wasting our meager resources to be politically sending people abroad for education that can be obtained locally if the standard is maintained to be of international standard. So it's not really a surprise that this facilitates corruption. So federal government has to ban state governments or even federal from sending people abroad on government scholarship. It's not the right. I've lived in the UK for 20 years. UK government do not sponsor students abroad on undergraduate or postgraduate studies. Neither do Americans or other countries, but it's just African countries, especially Nigeria.
Of course. Well, Jaja, you know what? I think that we're going to have to round up there. I'm so sorry. We've unfortunately run out of time, but I thank you so, so much for your contribution. And, you know, just as I've mentioned before you even called, we definitely will be following this up. It's not going to end here. We will definitely follow this up to bring you, as well as our other viewers, more information about this story. Because, again, we owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our fellow brothers and sisters, and also we owe it to our fellow citizens of Nigeria to ensure that they are, you know, their voices are heard and that they know that they are not forgotten in a foreign land. And we'll definitely endeavor to even go as far as hopefully being able to bring one or two of those students into the studio to hear their version of it. Because again, we cannot just be speculating at this point in time. We need truth. So in the, you know, the pursuit of truth, I will leave you here for this week, this episode's edition. But I thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully, I hope you'll be able to join me next week, Thursday, same time. And I've been Kalisha Johnson. Have a good weekend. God bless.